What is this called? Gardening.
I'm hypnotized.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to The Charge. This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, just giving you a nice little late night stream that we're going to be talking about today. And of course, today's subject, and I've talked about this before in a previous video, kind of leading up to this one, is just the Boston Celtics and where they're at right now in terms of the current season, what's going on with a guy like Kemba Walker. Should we trade him? Should we keep him? And then we also got to kind of talk about tonight's game. You know, they had a really good game against the Clippers, and let's just get right into it. And before we do, guys, please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. The more likes, the more subscribes, the more people will be willing to watch the channel. And of course, you know, I want to attract every type of fan, whether you're a Laker fan, Celtics fan, it doesn't matter what type of fan you are. As long as you're a fan of basketball, you're a fan in my book. And as long as you, continue to contribute to the channel by viewing in, tuning in, and just, giving me some likes and some views. I mean, I will be A-okay with that, and just kind of like reciprocate. I'd love to talk to you guys in the community. We had an amazing kind of video talking about the Nike VP and the scandal there with the whole back selling of Nike shoes, basically kind of exposing the business and the business model of basically what used to be a hobby to a lot of people has now turned into a business, and a business that has turned kind of a little bit dark in a way that the sneaker reselling market is at the moment. But nevertheless, that's not what we're here to talk about. But if you guys are interested in that story, it was actually yesterday's live stream. Go and check that out. Very interesting read on the people involved. It involved a vice president, someone of sales. And so without further ado, let's get right into the Celtics video. And we're going to start off really quick by watching some of the highlights. I kind of want to watch a little bit of what happened in tonight's game. Obviously, tonight's game was a really good sign for us. I know that not a lot of people rate the Clippers highly, but we did a pretty good job today. I thought Kemba Walker played really well tonight. I think something that I've been noticing the last couple of games is that Kemba Walker has slowly started to get back into that not sure if we can call it his all-star route, because we know his all-stars was just an insane player. But Jaylen Brown definitely took over the game and kind of showed you why he deserved that all-star vote. Again, good steal, Jaylen Brown, good awareness, easy layup. And I know that this video may get downed, so we'll just hopefully make sure that doesn't happen. You know, Nicholas Batum. It was a close game. I mean, this wasn't like an easy game for anybody. This game could have gone either way. Usually when it's that close, I think we won 117 to 112. Usually when it's a really close game, it's one of those things where you really look at how the Celtics usually botch those moments, and tonight they didn't botch the moment. Like I said, I know the Clippers are kind of fraudulent, especially with Pfizer P. But at the end of the day, we still have to look at this as a great win for the Boston Celtics. A couple great wins on the bout. I know we played the Wizards. We played a couple bad teams, but Kemba Walker, again, coming off that screen, getting a nice little mid-range. Nicholas Batum doing his thing. I think that was Serge Ibaka at that point. Nicholas Batum's 33. Again, you see Pfizer P doing his thing. And Kemba Walker making the extra pass. And that's something that I think we're missing really, really badly for our team. It's just that ability to get easy buckets and get really, fast-moving transitions. The one thing that I will say about the Celtics, if we kind of look at their stats and we kind of look at today's game, and let me go to it really quickly. Let's go to ESPN. Sorry about this. Ooh, I'm struggling. Struggle bus. We got bracketology. We'll definitely go over this and kind of what's going on for the brackets when it starts up. And we see here kind of looking at the stat line. I guess the only way you guys can look at it is if I scroll down, but I think that's all I can scroll down to. Let me see. Okay, this should be really good here. Kemba Walker, 25 points. Again, did really a good job. And again, Kemba Walker isn't going to be the guy that gets most of the assists. It's going to be mainly some of our other guards that kind of do their thing, but I thought Robert Williams also played really well tonight. 22 minutes, got you 8 rebounds, did a really good job, in my opinion. And let's continue watching the highlights. See here. We got Pfizer P again. Pfizer P. Feeling like Pfizer P grew a nice beard. There you go. Good putback by Daniel Theis. I thought today was a great team overall win. Again, am I convinced now that the Celtics are going to be the number 1 seed in the East? Are they going to, take on the Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers to, compete with them? Maybe the 76ers just because we know their history. But as it pertains to just basically the Celtics' chances of, contending in the title game, I still don't think we have it. Again, we're still lacking that big man presence. Tyrese, how you doing, man? I just saw your tweet. I'm not sold on Kemba. Kemba should be traded for Lou at will at this point. You want to take lemon pepper Lou? And again, I'm not saying, with all this being said, I'm not saying that Kemba Walker is the sole answer as to, what's going to help us win the game, or to win a championship. But what I do think, what I'm liking now is that we're getting a Kemba Walker who's confident in his shot, who's confident in attacking. It doesn't seem hobbled by the injuries. I think now he's kind of at least at a point where he's healthy enough to contribute and really give us good buckets compared to, previous times where we just saw him kind of hobble, got his mismatch, and then we were scored on each and every time. But I do agree with you, Tyrese. I'm not like 100% on Kemba at all. And that's to say that, Kemba Walker, maybe this is kind of one of those things where we try and trade him on the high. We see him playing better. Maybe teams are like, okay, maybe we'll give Kemba Walker a shot and we'll trade for him. And maybe we'll be able to get a player. I would not take Lou Will. I think Lou Will is a great backup role player. And again, I hate that I can't. Oh, wait, no. Let me do this. Let me move yours up. There we go. Perfect. Again, we'll see what happens with the Celtics at this point, but I did think that Kemba Walker played a lot better tonight. I mean, if we look at the stats from tonight's game, I would package him and Rob for Vucevic. That could actually be a pretty good package. I do like Robert Williams, though, man. I think that his energy and tenacity on the boards, but also defensively with block shots, I mean, he contributed in that factor tenfold. And he made up some clutch rebounds. Celtics usually get out-rebounded. And today they out-rebounded the team today. And I mean, it's not like to be honest with you, that the Clippers had a big man that out-rebounds anybody. They have like one like true big man in Zubac. But other than that, or Zubac, I think it's Zubac. But other than that, it's not really that much of an issue. Jason Tatum didn't really play well today. 5 of 16. Got to figure out a way to get him not with these slow starts. Jaylen Brown played excellent tonight. And you're all right. Rob can't stay healthy. But I do like him as a long-term project, man. I know that he's already 3 or 4 years into the season, but I think when he's healthy, he's probably one of those things, man. He's a player that can really make an impact. And we see here that really Brad Stevens has really shortened the rotation a bit. I mean, especially against a team that is considered a playoff team, a NBA playoff, later into the round contender. We see how much of a lineup he has, like how short it is at this point. He's got a couple guys he wants to play. He'll definitely play Pritchard. He'll play Teague, and he'll play Robert Williams, and he'll play Semi Ojeleye. Like, that's basically Brad Stevens' lineup at this point. I'm not saying that's a bad lineup, but again, it is one of those things that we're seeing Brad Stevens kind of shorten the rotation a bit, because I think he's still trying to find some role players and still trying to find some of these guys that are on the bench to really help and contribute. And I think Brad Stevens really played a lot of minutes for Jason Tatum. I mean, Jason Tatum played 40 minutes. Meanwhile, Kemba Walker and Jaylen Brown played 34. I know Kemba Walker's starting to get back into it, so maybe that's the reason why a lot of these guys like Naismith, Edwards, Green were playing. It's because they were just getting Kemba Walker ready to kind of go out full break. But again, let's look at the highlights again. Just kind of watching Lemon Pepper Lou Will. Great shot over Robert Williams. I mean, I get what you're saying, Tyrese, that he's like a little too small, a little too frail. But man, I just think that he's kind of one of those. He's got a good body, man, for a shot blocker. I mean, I know that if we have to get rid of him for Vucevic, I think that's what you do. Again, I think the biggest question mark for him coming out of the draft was really the maturity issue with him. But it seems like Boston has been a really good job. I think Brad Stevens has really held this kid accountable. And you're kind of seeing the results of it right now this season. For the last 2 years, he was kind of a project. I think he played a couple games in the G League. Really wasn't much of a guy. But now you're seeing that he's starting to become more and more available into the rotation, starting to play a little bit more. I know he only played less than 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at most. But he's definitely in that rotation of players that Brad Stevens will rely on, like Peyton Pritchard here, who's going to knock down the three. Peyton Pritchard, man, I love this kid. I think, like I said, I loved him coming out of the draft. I love that the Celtics took him. Again, defensively, probably going to be a liability, but offensively gets you into the stuff that you need. And especially, when it comes to the NBA, we all know that defense is trash anyway in this league. It's not like it's no secret that the defense in the NBA is just absolutely non-existent at times. I mean, you're seeing like players kind of lose men, and especially from like simple actions. And again, you kind of see here defense. This is just kind of a mismatch. You just gotta take it. I mean, hey, if you got the shot, you take it, man. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Tyrese said he'd get bullied by Embiid. I mean, I get what you're saying about Embiid kind of getting bullied. But I still think that his shot blocking, especially as a weak side defender, not saying that he could be like the one-on-one, you attack me, I'm going to attack you. But definitely as kind of like on the help side, he could definitely come in and block some shots, get into people's faces, get into people's grills. And you're kind of seeing here, again, bad defense. Daniel Theis basically made of paper. I don't know what this dude eats or what he does weight room wise, but it just seems like he's just pushed around and bullied easily for a guy that's his size and presumably weight too. I mean, he's really frail. But we see here Kemba Walker looking confident in the shot finally. I think it's taken about 10 years to get this kid or this guy. I mean, he's fully grown now. To get his confidence up, and I just, if we got Kemba Walker about 5 or 6 years ago, I think that we would have had a really good Kemba Walker. But unfortunately, he played a lot of years in Charlotte with the Bobcats and now the Hornets, and it's just I want to see him work in Boston, but at the end of the day, realistically, he just won't work. Again, too much of a liability on defense. We got two guys. I mean, I don't know how this happened. This is what you call bad communication, not this shot, but the next one. This to me is bad communication. You got Daniel Theis, and you got Tristan Thompson helping on the help there. Or maybe not this one. Maybe it was the next one. Maybe it was after this one. I have to look again. Let me make sure I got the right highlight. Let me see if it's this one or not. Maybe it was a couple back. Let me see. That's what it was. Let's go back. This is the highlight right here. Again, miscommunication. This is where, you got two guys coming at him. Patrick Beverley, not known as a great shooter. And this is where it comes down to personnel, knowing your personnel, who's out there on the court. We all know that Patrick Beverley is pretty cheeks at shooting. He's not a good shooter. I would say that he's probably at the bottom percentile for shooting percentage. I mean, I could probably look up his percentages right now, and it's probably not anywhere near where you would be like, okay, we're confident in giving this guy a shot. But let me just double check to make sure that we're not losing anybody here. Whoops, not what I needed. Struggle busting right now. Let me see here. Just want to go to analytics. Kind of looking at this really quick. Just want to make sure that we have. Okay, perfect. All right, just want to make sure that we're good. Excellent connection. Again, know your personnel. This should not have happened. And then again, you leave an opportunity for a wide open 3-point shooter. Bang. Might as well just let him take the layup and just call it good there. And just again, kind of the situations that you look at here as it pertains to the Boston Celtics. Again, Jaylen Brown playing all-star level-esque. I mean, Jaylen Brown has been playing really good, man. I know that a lot of people are kind of confused as to why he got the all-star vote, but this is showing you right here. And again, Semi Ojeleye, contributing with 6 points. I'm not expecting much from him, but if he can at least hit his shots consistently and doesn't get exposed defensively, I mean, we see here at a +11 with a +- best on the team. Again, Robert Williams did a good job. Jeff Teague, probably going to play sparing minutes just due to the fact that he's a little bit older. Not a lot of people are willing to use him. And then you got Peyton Pritchard again with a +5 with those 14 points. And the dude's a bucket getter, man. I do like Peyton Pritchard. I love his game. And really more so, going into this video before watching the Clippers game, and I'll just take my headphones off so I don't yell in this household. Going into this video, I was fully expecting the Celtics to, again, crumble under pressure and lose this game. And it's not due to the fact that I'm like a Celtics negative Nancy or, whatever the term you like to use of just being very down on the Boston Celtics. But, at the end of the day, the Boston Celtics have really struggled, in my opinion, to really garner me to say like, hey, the Boston Celtics, they're a championship contending team. And at the end of the day, you just look at the situation at hand. You look at the way the Celtics are playing. I expected a lot more out of them this season. 18-17 to me is unacceptable. I do believe that this team is much better than they're playing. And at the end of the day, we are, as much as I hate to say it, we are missing Gordon Hayward and just the ability that he brings to the floor. I'm not just being a scorer, but also someone that can pass the rock, move the ball. And that's something that I prefaced earlier in my video, is that the Celtics are really looking for that in this season, this trade, and Danny Ainge is looking to make some moves. But at the end of the day, the frustrating thing for me, let me just go here really quick to Real GM. The Celtics will only trade if they think they're going to bury you. And this is probably the worst mentality to have, as maybe it's not the worst mentality, because you do need a good mentality when to trade and when not to trade. But as it pertains to what I'm seeing right now for the Boston Celtics, again, the only trade that they've executed in the last 6 years is the Isaiah Thomas trade, as you can read from the article from Tom Bomson of ESPN. They'll only do something, the West executive said, if they think they're going to bury you. We don't have those draft picks, acquisitions that we once had with the Brooklyn Nets when we traded the two players, and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. And again, you could say that we won the deal. You could say we won just because we got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But at the end of the day, what is frustrating is that the other draft picks that we could potentially use that to grab a player that we need, to grab somebody that could help us, get that championship that we're looking for and striving for, it just turned into nothing. We got Naismith, we got Romeo Langford again, still out with an injury. I mean, at what point do we just cut our losses with Romeo Langford? At what point do we just cut our losses? I think Naismith, I think we need to send him down to the G League and just let him work with I can't remember, the Red Claws, I believe, is the G League affiliate, and just let him work on it. I mean, again, it's frustrating to see that Danny Ainge won't pull the trigger on getting us the players that we need. Getting us guys like Vucevic, like Domantas Sabonis. I mean, especially Sabonis, man. I know that the Pacers are playing really well. I know that Sabonis is playing at an all-star level, and, it's going to increase his trade value even more. But at the end of the day, we had opportunities to get these guys. Domantas Sabonis, whatever they thought about him, I did think that he had the ability to grow and develop, especially starting off in OKC. Didn't really get an opportunity because he's a rookie. They wanted to play more older, experienced players. They had Westbrook. They thought they could win, and eventually they, went a different way. And we saw how much it worked out for Sabonis and Victor Oladipo playing in Indiana. Now Victor Oladipo's in Houston. And it just kind of leads to a whole situation, in my opinion, where I'm really looking at what's going on and just saying, like, why the Celtics haven't pulled a move to get some of these guys. Get some low maintenance guys that won't really, cause a lot of issues, I would say. Not issues in terms of they're not going to be for the team, but eventually, some of them will like to move on. Like Anthony Davis, like I know full well that Anthony Davis, if we did try to trade for him, they were just going to say no, and he was not going to sign a contract extension. But, at the end of the day, who knows if he does or doesn't? I know that he is a clutch agent, and I know Rich Paul is good friends with LeBron James, so that would probably look suspicious. But at the end of the day, I do understand Anthony Davis's point of view of going to the Lakers, what he wanted to do. But again, the Celtics should have interfered in that trade, especially if he didn't want the Lakers to win another championship. The Celtics should have interfered in that trade process, should have gotten him and done something with that. And instead, we're kind of left here looking at who else Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can pass to. We had this team set up where it would be Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Jaylen Brown kind of as that role guy. And then at the end of the day, we just didn't see that come to fruition. We saw Kyrie Irving, toy with us, say, hey, if you'll have me, I'll be back in Boston. Ultimately said no. Which is his right. I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing I would ask, Kyrie at this point is just to make sure that, if you're not going to sign with us, don't say anything. If you're not going to sign with anybody, just don't say it. Just let your actions speak for yourself. And I think that would avoid this whole situation as to what happened in Boston, aka, the Brooklyn Nets situation. And again, it's fine if he wants to leave, but, don't try and dingle or, dangle some things in front of us just to be like, oh, we'll take you or we won't take you. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I will be curious to know what you guys think of this whole Celtics situation. We got a bunch of, Celtics news and rumors. Again, the Celtics are looking for trades. You see here that the Celtics are looking for a combo guard. And this is kind of the original, post I was looking at. They lost Gordon Hayward, and it's the kind of player that the Celtics are really looking at. But what I really think the Celtics are missing, and I think what I noticed, especially from our play, is how involved our point guard is, especially the scoring guard, Kemba Walker or Kyrie Irving. We saw how involved they were in the offense and what they were able to do. And it just kind of leads you to a situation where you look at it and you see the whole, you get, a good combo guard to kind of help facilitate, maybe be more of a passer than more of a scorer. And that's what you kind of get with that. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with the Boston Celtics. I don't think that this is kind of where I would go. Jokic over Joel. Okay, James. You like Jokic over Joel. Okay. I mean, I think it's pretty close with those two. I mean, I know that Jokic is a little bit younger in that situation, but it would be curious to see these two go at it in the NBA All-Star game, see how they do. But again, the Boston Celtics, they need to start looking for some answers because it's starting to become a real situation right now, as it pertains to like what the Celtics do for their future moves. I mean, we look at here, again, kind of looking at talking about Kemba Walker leads Celtics to an impressive win over the Clippers, and it's starting to look like himself again. And I do agree with the statement, but again, at the same time, as much as I agree with the statement, as much as I agree with everything that's going on, I still don't believe in the way that Kemba Walker can lead us to a championship. Is he good enough to get us to the playoffs? Is he good enough to get us in the first round? Yes. I mean, he's obviously that talented. But the question for me is, can he get us over the hump? Because at the end of the day, are we gonna consistently get this Kemba Walker, the one that's gonna get us 25 points, 20 plus points, and is able to give us the offensive firepower enough to overcome his defensive incapabilities at times. And so that's kind of the situation that I noticed with players like with Kemba Walker is like, can he consistently bring the offense? And again, we kind of look at some of the stories here. What's wrong with the Celtics? We look at it. It's something that the Celtics want to hang that 18th banner. We see here that they won against the Wizards. Obviously, a very scary sight. We see here that the Boston Celtics had a great win over the Pacers over the weekend. Another good team. And it's just kind of one of those things. We look at back Celtic stars by Major Funk. We see here that Brad Stevens is in big trouble, according to Stephen A. Smith. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, I don't think Danny Ainge has done any of us favors with the way that he's been moving. And I don't want to beat a dead horse when we've already talked about it time in and time out. But the fact that, again, we're in the same situation where we had all these draft picks. We had so many of them. And to see them kind of go to waste with players, like I said, like Romeo Langford, and I'll keep bringing his name up, because he's a player that I thought we could have at least, or maybe not a player, but at least that draft pick, at least use it to grab a player that we like, even if it was a backup player. I would honestly have paid Terry Rozier the money that we did. I think Terry Rozier would have been a great backup, but we ultimately kind of let him go so we could get Kyrie and kind of keep him. But ultimately, Kyrie said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go to Brooklyn instead of staying in Boston, which, again, his right to do so. I have no harms or qualms about it. But I would have liked to keep Terry Rozier because I think he's balling. And I think that they're very point guard heavy in Charlotte right now as it pertains to, Lonzo Ball balling out. You have PJ Washington there as well. I think Terry Rozier is kind of the odd man out in that group, even though he has definitely a lot of capability to create a lot of offense for himself and also for other people. Like I said, we'll see what happens. It's one of those things that we'll see how the Celtics are able to kind of keep it going on. And let's kind of look again. The Celtics, the trades is probably what's really going to be looking for us. And let me just kind of go here to Hoops Hype and just make sure that there's no, oops. We see here, we got Steph Curry, Devin Booker to compete in the dunk contest. You see Bogdanovich actually came back tonight. I think, which is kind of a little bit of a crappy situation that you waited to fire him after Bogdanovich comes back. It doesn't let him play. I mean, it's one of those things where Bogey's back to play for the Atlanta Hawks, and why isn't Lloyd Pierce at least given an opportunity to coach full strength? I think that there's something going on in Atlanta, and I hate to call out my friend's team. I know that my friend is a huge Atlanta Hawks fan. I know he doesn't want to think that Trae Young's being a diva, and I'm a Trae Young fan. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I wasn't standing for Trae Young, but man, I think maybe we'll have to make a separate a separate stream for this one, because I do think that Trae Young is starting to give off that diva-ish vibes with the way that the team is looking right now, with the way that the whole Lloyd Pierce situation was handled. And I know a lot of people want to blame the NBA for this, Adam Silver, all these different types of people, but we really have to look at the players for that one. They didn't really fight for their coach. I don't think that they really liked Lloyd Pierce as a coach. I would say maybe as a person they liked him, but as a coach, maybe they weren't a big fan of him. And so, I do want to see this sort of situation. We got here officiating complaints. Let's look at this, see what this is about. And we are starting to get a little bit of a situation. I think that Lethal Shooter, a YouTuber, a former college player, former overseas player, now turned kind of like shooting coach for other NBA players, kind of made up a good point. He talked about, they would want those old school refs that kind of have, basically can, kind of talk smack back to the players, not in a way that's disrespectful or demeaning, but more so to keep the orders in check. I just think right now we're in a situation and we're in a league and era where complaining is probably at its most highest. I could see situations where players are, chopping it up. You see guys like Draymond Green just chirp it up all the time, and then he gets technicals, and you see Steve Kerr even call him out for it. I just think it's kind of a rampant issue, and it's starting to affect the lower leagues, especially going into high school, college, especially with these NBA touted players. Like, look, I understand that, Amani Bates, Chet Holmgren, those guys are really talented players, but it's starting to come to a situation where you see those talented players in this young situation where they learn these bad habits from NBA players. And I do think you do what you see. It's kind of easy to imitate, greatness. You see the great players complain, and you think, okay, maybe this is what I need to do. And I think that's why, you're getting the situation where, and I hate to bring it up as kind of like an old head, but you see why a lot of refs are quitting the game. Like, a lot of high school refs are starting to quit, which I think will in turn affect the college level, and then in turn affect the NBA from getting great officials. I know that there's so many young officials that are starting to take into it, but I mean, think of the mentality that these young refs, like, that are kind of Gen Z millennials, kind of my age, around like that 25 to 20-ish range, that are starting to want it to be a ref, starting to want to get there because they love the game, they played the game before. And then you see a situation where these kids are complaining, they're whining about calls, and then it just it turns you off from actually, wanting to ref. I mean, at the end of the day, you'll just look at it and be like, why do I want to ref? Why would I even bother trying to ref a game if I know that I'm just going to get yelled at by dad over there because I didn't call a foul for his son who clearly just went in the land of trees between 4 defenders trying to lay up the basketball. I mean, it's one of those things, like I said, maybe I'm old head and old school about it, but it's just one of those things where I want to see NBA players, I want to see basically the whole league kind of tone it down with the whole talking back to the refs, because I think it's one of those things where you want to kind of chill a little bit, relax, don't create such an uproar in a sense where it's not necessarily the right time, right? There's you have to pick your battles when it comes to the refs. There's some calls that are going to be bad, and you're just going to have to live and accept with what calls that they saw, because again, it's coming from a perspective of the refs. Some of these calls are perspective of the refs, not really perspective of what you saw. And I think to kind of argue the sort of situation where you're like, I saw it this way, but the ref obviously is dumb and didn't do it this way. I mean, that's just kind of a situation where I think that's where Draymond Green is at this point, where I think that he sees a certain way, the way that he's playing, and, he can kind of play a little bit reckless sometimes, and that's the reason why he does get those technical fouls, because in his mind, he doesn't see anything he's doing wrong. But then when you look at it and you really pay attention, he is actually doing some bad things. And again, this is kind of going off topic from the Boston Celtics, and we're just kind of chatting it up and just kind of talking, spitting it. I just think that this is kind of a bad scenario, and I don't want to see good refs retire. I don't want to see refs retire in general, because again, it does affect the lower levels. It affects the high school. It affects the youth. It affects the college, and eventually it will affect the NBA, because at the end of the day, these guys will not want to kind of deal with this sort of turmoil and sort of distress that comes from, reffing an NBA game or reffing a college game or even reffing a high school game. No one wants to deal with that. Again, we got Lloyd Pierce firing. You see Emmanuel quickly playing really well for the New York Knicks. The Knicks are doing really well as of late. It looks like, according to the NBA media poll, Joel Embiid is ahead of LeBron James in the MVP voting. I know that they want to give it to Embiid. I know Embiid is playing well. He's playing well on a pretty good 76ers team. But, man, I think you really have to look at LeBron James, man. I think what he's doing in the year 18, the way that he's doing it, I think that he's kind of my MVP front runner. And I think that he's kind of in the lead for me if I was to kind of do my poll, because like I said, I like it so much better. I like the way that I like the way LeBron James is playing right now with the Lakers, and especially when you add Dennis Schroeder to the mix, I think that that's kind of a situation, and it just sucks to see that the Denver Nuggets are not really in that right now with Jokic, who was kind of my MVP pick with my boys Brad and Logan when I picked them. And I think he's kind of fallen out of that race, in my opinion. And you're kind of seeing a new situation at hand. And then other than that, I don't think that there's really much to talk about. I think the only other thing is probably looking at, Cade Cunningham and just kind of seeing what he's all about. He had a 40-point game a couple days ago. He's really being the number one prospect. I mean, we'll look at shout out to Swish. Cade, we're going to look a little bit at Cade Cunningham. I know that I am a huge proponent of Cade. I think Cade is really good as a 6'7" guard. You're kind of seeing what he's able to do. And you see here, like, the good thing about Cade and what I love about the mentality of a guy like Cade Cunningham is that you see in that possession that he really didn't, he's not really a big, right? He's not a big where you traditionally throw it down to him, let him go to work, let him try and make some moves. Like he's a guy that you're going to see, really change up his game. He's not going to be solely, a point guard. He's not going to be solely a guard. He's going to actually do some big man moves, and really do it. You see here again, I think the jumper is amazing. He had like I said, this was a win over Oklahoma. Again, number 7 in the nation. This is definitely a resume builder. Kind of the same record. Obviously, maybe Oklahoma's played a little bit better talent, off schedule or like out of the conference. But man, it is kind of looking at a situation you see here with the players. Again, great steal, great length. Again, Oklahoma, a good team. Good finish over a tall defender. I think Cade Cunningham's the real deal, man. I think out of anybody in this draft, if you're the number one pick, I mean, you're looking at Cade Cunningham as the guy that you want on your team. I mean, the way that he plays, the way his demeanor, again, as a guy that doesn't necessarily have to have the burst of speed to go and finish around you or to go and attack, he's a guy that has a great change of pace. Like you see here, obviously going to create some offense. When he has to go, he will go. Like I said, probably one of the best shot creators in the game. At 6'7", it does help to be a great shot creator. I mean, you see here all the opportunities that he's allowed himself to get. Again, shout out to Swish for the video. I want to shout them out because they do awesome job of highlighting. I know that they don't get paid as much to do this type of content, but I do appreciate channels like Swish that do bring us the highlights of a Cade Cunningham and many other athletes in the basketball game. Again, they try and double. Again, maybe they have the balls in his hands a little bit too much, and we'll see what teams really allow him to do this. But I think he just had it going against OU to that game. Again, you're seeing here some great offensive movement. Very, very passionate, good demeanor. Again, we'll have a great change of speed. Look at there, boom, good half spin. Again, it definitely helps when you have a guy that can create his own shot. I'm not sure what the box score for this game was. I'll probably have to look at it a little bit later. But you can see here that he's probably going to take most of the shots. Again, get that mismatch on the big and, put it up there and try and see if you can get a finish. And like I said, Cade Cunningham, his change of pace, the ability to also be a screener, doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands. Kind of setting there, gets a mismatch that he likes against a smaller defender. Again, that's just some old school bully ball. And that's something that I think a lot of guards, especially as we see kind of the situation as guards get bigger, you see players, especially, guards at 6'7", 6'8", as it becomes positionless, you got to be able to take your guy on the post, or you got to be able to do different types of things. You can't just be one-dimensional or two-dimensional anymore. You can't just be, a scoring threat. You can't just be... I should maybe not. Well, scoring threat. Obviously, you have to be a scoring threat, but you can't just no longer just be a 3-point. I mean, you can be a 3-point shooter, but in order to be considered a number one pick or to really, make the big bucks, guys like LeBron James, guys like Kevin Durant, to really make your money and to really be an all-around superstar, all-star, really, Hall of Fame type of career, you have to have an ability to also post down, do some different moves besides scoring 3-point shots and, making layups. Sometimes you have to do the dirty things, especially when it comes to the last couple minutes where you maybe have to post up and really do some of these things. I mean, look at this, able to not only pack his man down, get a good shot off, but also be able to rebound and hustle play and get yourself those points. I mean, again, I love his demeanor. I love his ability to change speeds. Different moves, crafty, tall, and that's something that's going to really bode well for him in the NBA. I think, like I said, he's just for sure number one pick in my opinion. the amount of games that Kuminga, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, Evan Mobley, I don't care what it is. Unless you have an established point guard that you like, unless you have an established guard that you like, I think Cade Cunningham has to be a number one pick. I mean, even with if the Warriors somehow are in this position, I think that you still have to take him, man. I just think that he's just that talented. If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you have to take him. Cleveland Cavaliers, that would be a very interesting scenario to see if they kind of maybe they get rid of Darius Garland or Colin Sexton and kind of go with a different guard or whatever have you about that. We'll see what they do in that situation. But again, you see here, great defensive awareness, big enough to get it going, and obviously gets fouled there at the end. And again, in an OT, kind of putting in the points you see here. Again, having the ability to get the ball, they win the game. And again, this was a great win over a great Oklahoma team. Again, one of those things you see Cade Cunningham kind of like, again, still in that conversation and still in that contention for number one draft pick, man. It's a thing to be to watch. Let's look at the news and see if there is anything recent. I mean, the last thing is the CBSSports.com. Again, Cade Cunningham going to the Detroit Pistons. They have Killian Hayes. It looks like they're going to get him. Minnesota, they might be, this might be a return of Jalen Suggs to Minnesota, as he did play for Minnehaha, which is the team that actually Chet Holmgren plays for right now. Jalen Suggs was on that team with Chet when Chet was a sophomore. No, when he was a junior and Jalen Suggs was a senior. So again, another great job. Evan Mobley, you got Kuminga going to the Cavs. Actually think that would actually be a good fit for them. Jalen Green to the Magic. I think the way that this looks, I think it's a good fit for everybody. Kispert to the Rockets. I mean, I would like to see Kispert kind of go to a more of a contending team. You see here Zaire Williams kind of in that kind of falling out from grace after, the hype and expectations that was expected from him, but I hope that he's able to do it. Jalen Johnson from Duke, still in this conversation. What sucks to me, and you kind of miss it here, is another player that did come from the Sierra Canyon Academy was, of course, Brandon Boston Jr. I mean, the fact that Kentucky's doing so bad, it really fell his draft stock all the way. He's in the first round, but to be honest with you, I think he's one of those guys that probably should have quit Kentucky and just basically straight went into, maybe you have to fake an injury. I don't know what you had to do there, but I just think that the way that he kind of stuck with it. So from one regard, I am proud of him for sticking with Kentucky and the way that he's been able to go at it. But, when you have a guy like Brandon Boston Jr. again, he was considered a top 10 prospect, top 5 pick. And it's just kind of struggled on a Kentucky team. And, I think that he has that ability to kind of be a long, lanky guard that could actually do some damage in the league. But, it's going to come down to what team is going to be willing to give him that opportunity. What team is going to be able to give this kid the green light or the sort of situation where he's able to grow and develop. Like I said, I think this kid, I think he can be good. I think his pick of 27 is kind of really low for this kid. I want to see him gain a little bit more weight, but I just think that it's a little ridiculous that he's kind of fallen off the map, in my opinion. I think he still has the ability to do it. And I'm trying to think, Josh Christopher, I mean, if the Brooklyn Nets got him here, that's a great pickup. Josh Christopher, it's just, man, I think this kid's going to be really good. I like his game. I saw what he's able to do. I really do like his game. And I'm trying to think who else was kind of the other player that was in that like Sierra Canyon sort of situation. I know it was Zaire. I know it was Brandon Boston Jr. And I think there was one more, and I can't remember who it was. I think I might have already passed him, or I might have already talked about it. But let me look really quick. And who was those 3 players? Gosh dang it, who was it? This is gonna take me just a second. I believe it was the 2019 roster, 2019, 2020. So it was, who was it? It was definitely Brandon Boston Jr. It was Zaire Wade. Who else was on this team? I'm trying to think of. Let me see who else was on this team, so I can kind of talk about it. Amari Bailey, yeah, I know him. This team's actually returning some pretty decent starters. Who was it? I think it might have been just those two as kind of the seniors, and then you had a couple other guys there as well. But anyway, you know, kind of going back to kind of my situation that I'm talking about. You know, like I said, Zaire Williams, definitely thought of as, you know, kind of in that top 10 pick, top 10 category. Brandon Boston Jr., the same situation with him. Like I said, it's disappointing to see that, you know, for the amount of effort and hard work that you put in, he's just kind of fallen off the map a little bit. But again, I would hope that Brandon Boston Jr. does get a situation, does get a spot to kind of grow and develop. Because like I said, I think he can be a decent player in the NBA. The question is, you know, if he does go to the Bucks, if he does go in the later rounds, let's say he goes to the Lakers for whatever reason, or the Jazz, or, you know, kind of these teams that are in this, you know, running to get him as kind of like this like long guard that I think a lot of teams could really use in the league. I mean, you know, put him in the G League, let him develop, and I think you could get a really decent player out of Brandon Boston Jr. But, you know, again, we will probably do a little bit more of an in-depth research on all these guys. I want to, you know, do a better understanding. I know we did use Garba. We did a video on him, or a live stream, I should say. We've done one on, you know, we did one on Cade Cunningham. We did one on Jalen Suggs. You know, Evan Mobley is another guy that, again, I have to look at his highlight tapes. Jalen Green, another one. We looked at him a little bit. We looked at Corey Kispert, again, being considered a top 10 pick. And I kind of want to look at Jalen Johnson, look at his stuff again, kind of seeing what's going on with him. I know a lot of people questioned his absence with Duke in terms of him deciding to step away. But at the end of the day, you know, is it the best look? No. But at the end of the day, you do have to protect your value, especially, you know, with this process of, you know, going into the league. You know, like, again, Jalen Johnson was considered to be a top 5 pick, and then, you know, falls out of the first round, falls out of the first top 10, which definitely causes a lot of concern for a lot of GMs and teams that are like, well, wait a minute, you know, we're looking at this kid, and I'm not really sure if I'm confident that this kid will be something great. I mean, again, 6'9", 220, great size, great weight. I definitely think you could get a little something out of Jalen Johnson, but you know, we'll see where the Atlanta Hawks are picking. You know, with Nate McMillan at the helm, we'll see. You know, they might even get a lower pick at this point. But I think, guys, that is probably going to do here. You know, we see several Hawks support the change again. Looks like the Hawks, there wasn't really much support for Lloyd Pierce. I mean, I really want to player support beyond Trey was doing them at the end, with several sharing their desire for a change with management recently. I think at the end of the day, I think the reason why Lloyd Pierce was eventually pushed out was due to Trae Young. And I do think that we will have to talk about this tomorrow, or Thursday, whenever I want to kind of dedicate some time to, because I know that there was a Athletic article that had basically the full details of it. But man, we do have to talk about this Trae Young stuff. But at the end of the day, we will talk about it tomorrow. I've decided we're talking about that tomorrow. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge, getting the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinions. And if you guys are interested, please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit the subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, let me mute this stuff because I know you guys are hearing it. Like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. I think I shut it off now. I think it should be good. Okay, perfect. Got that muted. Please mute. Okay, got that muted. But we're going to talk about this Trae Young story tomorrow. We're going to talk about kind of what's going on with the Athletic article that Sam Amick had to say. You know, a lot of players were disappointed. with Lloyd Pierce, but specifically Trae Young. And the question now that I want to lead you and want you guys to kind of think about, is Trae Young a diva, or is he starting to act like a diva now that he's the man in Atlanta? He's the guy that the organization has built their trust in, put all their money and effort into as the kind of superstar franchise player. Or do you guys think that it goes a little bit deeper than that? I want to let you guys kind of let me know in the comment section down below of today's video. And then tomorrow we'll definitely talk about Trae Young and is he a diva at this point. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge. Give me the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Thank you to Tyrese. Thank you to my girlfriend, Gabby, for commenting in the comment section with the live chat. If you guys have anything to say in the live chat or anything to say after the video, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll make sure to get this video looked at and see the comments and kind of lead into tomorrow's episode where we'll talk about Trae Young and is Trae Young a diva. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.